I mean, Slopbot will die if I attack. But he just said spin to win. But he was a 7-1. But guys, this card just got buffed. He's not even emoting. Come on. Emote tier list. We need to see the animations. We've seen the stills before. I'm gonna look at the animations here, and we'll talk about like the nuances of the new emote meta. I'm gonna talk about the new emote loadout. So, building an emote roster is sort of like building a deck. It does require synergy, and you do want certain components to work with each other. There is combo ability as well, which is something that we haven't touched on largely in the past. Mwahahaha. So we can see the animation, so that's fine. Okay, so the Elise emote is, or sorry, the Ezreal emote is the best one out of the new set, by far. Teemo is not bad. Not bad. It's significantly less versatile. I don't see Teemo hitting builds. I don't think so. And then Draven is new as well. Not a fan. Probably the lowest tier. Elise is... Okay, so there's two subtypes of emotes. There's like the kind of like versatile emotes, and then there's the very like high expression unironic emotes. And that is really an important distinction to make, right? So the high expression emotes are gonna be stuff like alright, mwahaha, undying rage, you're next. Mind Blown kind of exists between those extremes because it is a bit of a spectrum compared to everything else. But those are kind of like the, and then there we'd also have stuff like Yasuo. Misfortune is kind of on the level of Swain, which is kind of between them. At the end of the day, you want to be kind of like, I guess I'll use the word cool. You don't want to be like too expressive with your emotes, right? It's a little, not necessarily universally cringy, but there's a certain amount of people that will find it cringy. And I think overall that does just detract enough from their value that I don't like to take the risk with an emote like that. So my current emote board, and we'll talk about how things will fit into this emote board. So we'll go ahead and set it up because we haven't set it up on this deck yet. So let's set up the current emote board, okay? As we have it. Now I don't like Braum anymore. And the reason I don't like Braum anymore is he's not versatile enough. Versatility is incredibly important when we're talking about emote game. You should, I think, never run an emote. Maybe this is wrong. I don't think you should ever run an emote that can only be used in just one kind of situation, right? Here's the problem with Braum. You can use him as a greeting, but there's better ways to do greetings, right? And outside of that, yeah, he fits into kind of like the sort of very unironic category that we don't like. Whereas Jinx is a bit more flexible, right? Like, you can still use her, although I think we might not in this case. And then there's Heimerdinger versus Quinn. Now, for the longest time, this has been our roster. We've gone Heimerdinger plus Quinn, and probably the weakest link here is either going to be the Lux or either the Heimerdinger and the Quinn. Currently, there's not really great substitutes for Darius or Poro. I think in the current emote meta, there's no way. You have to run Poro, you have to run Darius, and you have to run either Quinn or Heimerdinger. Those three are completely necessary. I don't think Shen is a must-have because Vladimir can substitute for that. I think that's okay. I don't understand the appeal of Darius. It's got bluff potential. When you do something that you want to pass off as a misplay for a hand read, Darius is the only emote that can get you there. So Darius actually increases your win rate. Quinn and Heimerdinger is the big question on everyone's mind because now slots are tightening, right? They're constricting. There's, you know, new cards to put in. So the question becomes, what's the first cut? Which do you keep? Okay, so answer me this. Which one do you use? Which one do you keep out of these two? Do you keep Quinn or do you keep Heimerdinger? Because I would keep Quinn, but it's hard to say. And you could argue that you should keep both of them because Heimerdinger is very useful sometimes. There's some situations where the opponent pops off and you will get unique value out of Heimerdinger. My inclination with this new update is to actually drop Lux for Ezreal. I think so. I don't like unironic emotes. I think that there's... You don't want... I don't think there's enough of a utility for emotes that are just like, quote-unquote toxic. You can use them... I mean, it is possible to use them sort of like, you know, in a self-aware way. But you have to do it... Because the emote is so limited from a communication standpoint, you can't just use it in a self-aware way. You have to use it in a position where it could be interpreted as self-aware, which is rare. That's like 10% of the cases. Which means that Lux just ends up being like a really, really niche option. And don't get me wrong, Heimerdinger is also niche, but I think Heimerdinger hits for more value. Keep Quinn, replace Heimer with Gangplank. I really don't like Gangplank. So Gangplank is... It doesn't fit my roster. A lot of people will like Gangplank, and they'll like Gangplank because he is a good, like, counter to roping. I've never really felt a big need to counter roping, but I will say Gangplank is going to be solid for most people. It doesn't fit my playstyle. But, yeah, I would never use Gangplank. And I don't tend to like the idea of something like Misfortune or Thresh. If you're going to use something like... God, you know, honestly, in a weird way, I sort of might prefer Braum or Lux to Misfortune or Thresh. It is kind of weird. Okay, so we got Ezreal. And we have Elise. I could try out Elise and Teemo. Elise and Teemo both have potential. I don't know if they're going to be great. I mean, Teemo... When do you use Teemo? It's a good counter to Teemo. Like, when you're at low health and you're looking at mushrooms, that's when you use Teemo. Or when you're playing Teemo. So, okay, so it's a good emote when you're playing a Teemo deck, which makes sense. It's a role-playing. When you put your opponent to low health and mushrooms, then you snap in a Teemo emote. I think unless you're using a Teemo deck, I don't think it's worth it to run Teemo. Because even if you're looking for a top deck, the thing is your opponent isn't aware that you're looking for a top deck. They're not aware that you're on an out, so there's kind of no point. Bluff spot? When you want to bluff a nut top deck? Ah, God, it is... No, it's... I could kind of see it. I could kind of see it being bluffable. That might be really rare, though. I think I don't like Teemo. Teemo is so good in theory. So the thing about emote game is you have to understand that there's a lot of things that are good in theory, but you always need to ask yourself, when would I actually use this, right? I don't think there's enough opportunities to use this. I don't like this in, like, the steel decks. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Elise is not bad. Elise, I could see using Elise when you're kind of nutting. I think Elise could actually fit. Let's try running Elise, and let's go Ezreal over Heimerdinger. Let's try this. We're going to swap the position of Ezreal and Quinn, because Quinn should replace the Heimerdinger position. Elise replaces Braum, and Ezreal's placing... What's upper right on default? Jinx? Yeah, that's close enough. Okay. So, yeah. Position is good for muscle memory, so you can get the emotes in faster based on, you know, the default set and the kind of expression you want to convey.